It's presented by Old National Bank on this Wednesday. Truly great to have you with us, Dave Revson and Trent Meacham. We had a couple of conference hoops games last night, and we'll get to those in a moment, but I think it's fair to say it was the non-conference performance that stole the show. Illinois was just fabulous.
I love what I saw from Illinois last night. And I think conference overall, a couple weeks ago, we kind of talked about, man, is there another team besides Purdue? In the past 10 days or so, we've seen a few teams step up in Illinois with a great performance last night.
Right. There are several of them, I think we'd say now, and we're going to discuss later in the show what you think that pecking order might be. But let's get you through last night's action. We'll start with a big story. And wow, were Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Damask fantastic in that game. They got 33 from each one of them, a 9-point win over the Owls. Illinois shot 63% from the field. That duo was 25 of 35 from the floor. It is the first time D1 teammates have each scored at least 30 and shot 70% since 1999. Hadn't been done since then. And the 98 points, as you can see, the most the Illini scored against a ranked team since they put 102 up on Shaq and LSU in 1990. Trent, you and I were talking before the show, and we've been raving about their defense, and I think it's dramatically improved this year. But the story of last night for Illinois was the offense, and particularly that duo of Shannon and Damask.
Oh, no doubt. And we've seen Terrence Shannon kind of go off and have some big performances. Yes. And he was, once again, he was fantastic last night when he's making his threes. You really can't stop him, okay? And he did that last night. But Marcus Damask, okay, Dave, I love a good player comp. All right, and I got to give credit where it's due. My former teammate and current Illini assistant, Chester Frazier.
He compared him to you, right?
Not quite. I wish. He put up a picture of Luka Doncic next to Marcus Damask highlight clip. And I like that comp last night. Okay, we're not saying he's Doncic, but his ability to play off 2 feet in the paint. And what Illinois did was great was they spread the floor for him. They saw that he had it going. He had smaller guards against him. They spread the floor and said, hey, get to work, do your thing. And he was fantastic. When he gets into the paint, he uses his size. He takes great angles. His pivot foot is one of the best I've seen, and he just knows how to create enough space and find that room to make plays around the basket. Florida Atlantic had no time. They couldn't stop him. The one time they did try to bring a couple guys to him, late in the game, 2-point game, he kicked it back out to Coleman Hawkins for a big three. So his decision-making, his confidence, he hasn't played great this season. Right. He played well against Marquette. He played well against Rutgers over the weekend. He struggled a bit against low and mid-major teams, but, man, he put it on last night at MSG on the big stage. So to have two guys go for 66, that doesn't happen too often. Those two guys played like first-team All-Americans.
Had 49 of their 59 points after the break. And, I mean, when Shannon gets going towards the hoop, on the move, I don't know how you stop him. I mean, here we see a little bit of it. He is just so strong. He's big. It's a really tough matchup, and then you add in Damask, just tremendous. To me, like last year, we were really raving about the Illini early, right? They beat UCLA and Texas, and honestly, had they not won those games, I'm not 100% sure they would have made the NCAA tournament. I mean, they really rode the coattails of those wins for much of the year. These feel different. This team feels more connected to me than last year's team did. And, I was down there. I did the Penn State game, and Brad Underwood was so angry after that game. And so maybe that colored my perception of the team the rest of the way. But it just feels like there's more of a flow with this team than there was a year ago at this time.
It does feel a lot different. And you look at who they bring in. Marcus Damask, fifth-year guy. Terrence Shannon's been there for 2 years, fifth-year guy. Justin Harmon, fifth-year guy. Quincy Guerrier, fifth-year guy. Coleman Hawkins, it's his fourth year. This is a really experienced team. They're long, they're athletic. So you just take that talent. You have Terrence Shannon, who's about as good of a guard as you have in this country. You're going to win games. And I think the experience factor is all these guys want to win. It's not just about getting theirs. And last night was a great example because here you have two guys who really have it going, especially Marcus Damask. The others, hey, do your thing. We'll get out of the way. We'll create space. We'll step in when we need to. But you didn't feel like they're fighting each other. And at times last year, there was never that cohesiveness, that chemistry. So this team feels very different. Again, they were pretty good on defense last year. They're there again this year. If they can generate offense, they're not going to get a 60 ball from two guys on a nightly basis, but they have enough pieces. I thought Justin Harmon has stepped in and made plays on the offensive end. Luke Goody only 1 3 last night, but he shot the ball well. They have some options. Even Quincy Guerrier has played well. So they have some guys that can step in, make shots, make plays. But now I think you have two guys. I think this, Domas isn't going to score 30 every night, but I think this could be a really confidence-boosting game for him. Say, hey, I can go and do this against a top 20 opponent on the big stage. And the good thing is he typically has the number 2 perimeter defender on him because that top guy, they got to put him on Terrence Shannon.
I love the fact they didn't settle for threes in this game. I feel like that has been the story. It's kind of been their downfall's the wrong way to put it because it's been an NCAA tournament team, but it's why I don't think they've reached their potential here these last couple of years is because they haven't kind of pounded the ball inside, but 48 points in the paint, really exceptional. Another huge test for them on Saturday as they take on Tennessee in Knoxville. All right, let's get to the 2 conference games. Start with Wisconsin. And man, have they been good here these last couple of games. They got the win over Marquette over the weekend, a game in which they never trailed. And once again, Michigan State last night at Michigan State never trailed in this game. And it really felt like if you would have kind of switched uniforms, right, like kind of past years, this feels like what Michigan State does to people, right? They pounded them inside. The offensive glass, Wisconsin was fabulous. They were just the more physical team from where I sit than the Spartans were.
They're a complete team, and I look at rebounding. They out-rebounded them 36-22 in shooting. So they make 4 more threes. There's 12 points there. They're perfect, 14 for 14 from the free throw line. So those 2 things, rebounding and shooting. And how do they do it? Okay, rebounding, they're a bigger, more physical, more aggressive team. We don't say that about a Spartan ball club. Wisconsin was last night. I think they are. And shooting, they have better shooters. We talked about this yesterday on this show. I said, Wisconsin hasn't shot the ball yet great to this point, about 30% on the season, but I think they have the shooters to do better, 10 for 23, 43% from the arc. That will continue, I believe. And look, Connor Essegian, he knocked down 1 last night. He's maybe their best shooter. He hasn't gotten it going this season. So many guys that can step in and make plays. The depth of this team, they haven't had depth like this in that I can remember in some years. You bring John Blackwell off the bench as a freshman. Robbie Hummel commented on him last night. He makes winning plays. He's around the ball. He's aggressive at the right moments. Chucky Hepburn, not a big scoring night, 8 assists though. Stephen Crowell, 4 threes last night. So they have so many guys. I haven't even mentioned A.J. Storr, who gives them an athlete, a guy who plays above the rim.
Right.
We haven't seen that from Wisconsin. Johnny Davis, Johnny Davis-like in some ways. So I just look at this roster, top to bottom. I really like this team, and they went into the Breslin Center and really, for a stretch there, Michigan State made a run, but otherwise they really controlled that game.
Storr gives them a different dimension. I just think about last year, and there were so many games that kind of came down to the ball in Chucky Hepburn's hands, and he had to make a play. He kind of had to freelance something or just make something happen. It doesn't feel like they're going to be in that spot this year. It feels like there's more balance. There are more potential answers.
Their margin for error was so slim in recent seasons. You needed Tyler Wall to give you 15. Right. You needed Essegian to make shots, and now they have a number of guys that can knock down shots, that can create plays for themselves. This is a different Wisconsin team. I think they're a legitimate contender.
They play at Arizona this weekend. Huge task, tall task, obviously, number 1 team in the country. That feels like a house money game to me. I mean,
I would agree.
After beating Marquette and Michigan State, the way they played, they've had a hugely successful week already. What about Michigan State? I mean, so Michigan State now, Trent, they're 4-4. That is tied for the worst 8-game start for a preseason top 5 team in the past 40 years in college basketball. Now, 3 of the losses have been to really good teams. But still, you just expected more out of this team. And again, I felt like they kind of got a taste of their own medicine last night from how physical Wisconsin was, how much better they were on the glass. And it just feels like, and we talked about this a little yesterday in previewing this game, Michigan State has no answers inside. I mean, they're so dependent on the perimeter game.
And the unfortunate thing, their perimeter game isn't shooting the ball that well. Now, I thought A.J. Hoggard was much better last night. That's a great sign to see. Tyson Walker, once again, goes for 22 points. He had a flurry there in the second half that kind of got them back into the game. So they have those, but besides those 2 guys, everybody struggled. And I mentioned some concerns yesterday here on the show. They don't shoot the ball well, for one, and they don't have a post presence. Malik Hall, now, he's been sick, so he wasn't at full strength last night, but those two things are not a good recipe for offensive success. This team is really having a hard time scoring the ball, and they're relying on Tyson Walker, who can make tough shots, who's an incredible player, but you need some other guys to step up. So it's good to see A.J. Hogarth do so, but Jaden Akins has got to play better. They need one of these freshmen to maybe give them something. Jackson Kohler, they're expecting him back sometime this month, hopefully, which would be, I think, really big for them. Gives them a post presence. He's a legitimate post presence down there, but they're struggling. They got to get out in the fast break, because if they don't, the half court can be really hard.
Yeah, outside of Hogarth and Tyson Walker, the other three starters, 7 points. I mean, it's crazy to think of how little production they were getting from the rest of that group. And Jaden Akins struggling as part of it. And again, they started Cooper and Sissoko together. But man, it was not pretty.
And now Tom Izzo wants to get them in the football pads back.
Exactly. How about Indiana? 2-0 in the conference. They went to Michigan. They got a road win. Really impressive to see this. And the story with them, like in this day and age of college basketball where teams are so reliant on the three-pointer, it's almost refreshing to see the way that Indiana does this.
I like the three-ball, Dave.
I know you do, right? It got you into the Big Ten, but 52 points in the paint, and man, I mean, Ware, you can understand the hype around Khalil Ware, because I mean, his skill set is so hard to guard.
At 7 feet tall, that high release point on his shot. I mean, Terrace Reed had great defense on a number of possessions, and Ware was able to just finish above him. I thought Indiana, you could see from the very beginning, they went inside. Ware got going early. Late, I thought they finished the game very well. Malik Renew, who was a bit quiet, was very big down the stretch. Ware had that key bucket when it was all tied up, kind of a running hook shot, tough shot once again that he made, and then they made free throws down the stretch. But Indiana, that's what they're going to do. They're going to punish you inside. C.J. Gunn stepping up, making a couple threes. That's huge for them. I thought even a guy like Gabe Cupps, you're going up against Doug McDaniel. Cupps didn't give them much offensively, but can he be a pest for 40 minutes? And I thought he did a good job defensively. And they also defensively, this is a big athletic team. They really shrunk the court, and they really helped well, got in the gaps, made it difficult for those Michigan guards to drive and penetrate.
Impressed with C.J. Gunn on the defensive end as well. Came up with 4 steals, hit a couple threes, he hasn't shot the ball great. So a lot to like here if you're Indiana. What about on the other side with Michigan? It just feels like the Wolverines are a little bit lost. I mean, they lost 5 of 6 here. This is a game you kind of have to win at home. I mean, again, Indiana's really good, but I mean, this is how you build a resume, is defending your home court in the league against good teams, and Michigan just couldn't do it.
Well, they're a team that their margin of error is slim, and if Doug McDaniel isn't playing great, they're a much more beatable team, and he was 3 for 14 last night. Indiana did a good, give them credit. I think a guy, though, that could get a little bit more action that's played well is Will Cheddar. I think they need to let him loose a little bit more. 17 points last night. He's only playing about 17 minutes a game. His numbers, his efficiency has been off the charts this season. He's a guy that brings some energy, some confidence to him. You've seen his game emerge. So I think they could maybe even go smaller at times to play him at the 5 and give teams a different look. But defensively, they got to improve too. They've been poor on that end of the floor. If they can get stops, then I think they can play in the open court a bit more where Doug McDaniel excels. They did a good job of getting the ball in Com 1 the second half, I thought, who's very effective, and they can move him around the court. But defensively, that's the most critical thing for the Wolverines.
I agree with you. I do think this is one of those games where if you watched it through the lens of a Michigan fan trying to stay optimistic with this team, there were positives that you could find.
There were.
Kamwa is really talented. I don't think there's any question about that. And as you said, like Cheddar a lot, but the defensive end, particularly on the interior, the defensive end has kind of been a year-long saga.
Indiana's a load too, but here in the Big Ten, you're going to have some other teams. Right. They got to be stronger there.
Right. Big one for them Sunday. They go to Iowa. Michigan does be on the call for that one. Looking forward to it. But really a big game for both those teams in Iowa City. So much. Sweet 16 is tomorrow. 4 Big Ten teams are still alive. Actually have an all Big Ten matchup tomorrow in Madison, Wisconsin and Penn State. Purdue plays in Madison as well, a future All-Big Ten matchup as they will take on Oregon. Meanwhile, Nebraska will host Georgia Tech. Our volleyball analyst, Elena Sklar, is here. Let's start with that All-Big Ten battle, Wisconsin and Penn State. For Penn State, it's been more challenging to get to this point so far in the tournament, I think, as would be expected given their seed, than it has been with Wisconsin. Now, bring us up to date on both of those teams, and then we'll get into the matchup.
Yeah, I just want to start by saying this has been a matchup that I've been looking forward to since the bracket was released. I mean, these two teams, two Big Ten teams, the first time they played earlier in the season, Penn State actually upset them. Yeah. And that was, you do have to say, Wisconsin was not full strength, but that kudos to Penn State because that was an absolutely huge win for them. So far, Penn State has looked really, really good in the tournament. They beat a really good Kansas team, and they're kind of playing their best volleyball right now. Wisconsin, on the other hand, playing at home. They're fully healthy, and the key to Wisconsin is to stay fully healthy. So this matchup, I wish both teams could win because they're both playing so well right now that I want to see them keep playing in the tournament. But obviously that's not possible. But I'm really looking forward to this one.
So 15-match home winning streak for Wisconsin. Important to note, as you said, Wisconsin maybe wasn't at full strength when they went to State College. This didn't take anything away from Penn State. I mean, it was a monumental win. And Penn State is playing great, right? And we talked about this going into the tournament, how well they were playing down the stretch. So not only did Penn State win at State College, they won 3-1. So they won fairly convincingly. Give us a sense of how these teams match up and what it would take for Penn State perhaps to replicate that.
Yeah, so both of these teams are two of the best blocking teams in the entire country, and the Big Ten, of course. But the biggest key for both of these teams is to take away the offensive balance of the other team. When you look at Wisconsin, they have Big Ten Player of the Year Sarah Franklin on the outside with Temi Thomas-Ayalara, and then Anna Schmreck, Devin Robinson, and two fantastic middles in the middle. So you need to kind of slow down that offense. Penn State is going to need to find a way to get Wisconsin's offensive balance to kind of diminish a little bit. You can do that by attacking them from the service line, putting the ball on the setter. They run a 6-2, so that means the setter's always in the back row. So you're always able to attack at that setter. And then for Wisconsin, they need to play to their strength, which is their physicality, their experience, and honestly just their size all the way across the net. That average height in the front row for them is 6'5", and Penn State has some experienced players as well. They both played in the Big Ten, so they're used to this physicality. But the biggest key for both of these teams is to be able to slow down the offense on the other side of the net. And then for Penn State, to get their middles involved a little bit more than usual as well. In last round against Kansas, their two middles, Allie Holland and Taylor Trammell, combined for 18 kills and hit 500. That takes a little bit of the load and the stress off of their outside hitter, Jess Merzick, who's one of the best in the country. It's also going to keep that Wisconsin block on their toes and guessing.
So 8 straight wins for Penn State coming in. As you said, both these teams feel like they're playing really well heading into that matchup. Nebraska absolutely dominant in the first 2 rounds. Now they get Georgia Tech. Again, they get to play at home where they have literally been unbeatable this year. What do you make of this matchup?
I mean, Nebraska has been looking so good all season, which was honestly a surprise for me coming into this season because they had so many question marks. But their freshmen have stepped up, have been playing like veterans, and then you have John Cook leading them, and he always knows how to lead his team in an NCAA tournament. So right now you got Nebraska at home. They're looking, they're the #1 seed in the entire tournament for a reason. They're looking really strong. So I think as long as Nebraska is able to kind of slow down Georgia Tech, they're a really well-rounded team. Nebraska, play Husker volleyball, and you're going to be all right.
Yeah, give us a little insight into Georgia Tech, which we expect from them.
Yeah, Georgia Tech is a really good ball control team. They have a lot of international players, and in the international game, you tend to be very good all-around 6 rotation players. So Georgia Tech has 3 attackers that can go off and can lead their team in kills in any match. So like I said, the key for Nebraska is to slow down that team and try to limit some of those players. They're a very well-rounded team, good ball control team, and just in general don't make that many errors. But against that Nebraska block, that forces attackers to make errors.
21 straight home wins for Nebraska coming in. Again, they get the road paved for them, as it should be when you're the #1 overall seed, but we get to play at home, not just in this round, but then assuming they win against Arkansas or Kentucky for a berth in the Final Four. Purdue and Oregon, that one is in Madison, as I mentioned. So the winner of this presumably would get Wisconsin. We don't want to write off Penn State, given that we get the winner of Wisconsin and Penn State. But it is possible. It is more than likely that they would get Wisconsin in Madison. So it's challenging, no doubt. Give us a sense of what Purdue is up against an Oregon team that's been to this point now 2 straight years.
This is going to be an absolute battle on both ends of the ball. Oregon is a really, really strong team. Their biggest strength is the speed of their offense. So first and foremost, Purdue needs to find a way to slow down Oregon's offense. Just like I was talking about a little bit with Wisconsin and Penn State, you need to find a way to put the ball on their setter. You have to serve tough, get them out of systems so they can't run that speed, because when you run that fast of an offense, you don't necessarily see that as much in the Big Ten because we have so much physicality that you don't need to run as quick of an offense. But Oregon plays with so much speed that Purdue hasn't really seen yet this season. So I'm really looking forward to this. Purdue's one of the most physical and aggressive teams. They have 2 explosive outside hitters, some of the most dynamic middles in the entire country. And Coach Shondell always finds a way to prepare his team and have them playing their best volleyball come the tournament.
Right. That's what's really interesting to me about not just Purdue, but Penn State too, is it feels like both these teams have kind of gotten better as the year's gone on, and they're peaking at the right time. How important is that? I mean, obviously it's important because you want to win the matches to be playing your best, but like kind of psychologically, where you head into matches like this and you know, hey, we are playing well. All we have to do is what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 weeks to get us to meet our goal.
It's definitely a lot to kind of comprehend and manage, because you're thinking, oh, in this next match, we might have Wisconsin next. But no, you have to go through one match at a time. You cannot overlook any team. And of course, all of those conference and non-conference matches matter to get you to this point. But the next match, this match, is the most important one of the season. And Purdue cannot overlook Oregon. I said they have some of the fastest offense in the entire country. So #1 key is neutralize and slow down that Oregon offense. And then you have to beat them on the defensive side of the ball too. Oregon has a great blocking team. Purdue has also shown some incredible blocking matches with Raven Colvin in the middle. She's one of the best blockers in the entire country. So really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be an absolute battle and just extremely physical play from both sides.
Mentioned back-to-back Sweet 16s for Oregon. It's the 4th time Purdue's been there in the last 5 tournaments. Great stuff, Elena. Looking forward to seeing how these matches come out tomorrow. Back with me. Let's dive into those 2 games. Start with Penn State and Maryland. And these 2 teams that could really use a win. They're both 4-4. I don't think it's totally unexpected with Penn State, just given that you have a coaching change with Mike Rhodes and turned over so much of the roster. It is unexpected to me with Maryland. I mean, I thought this was a team that maybe could be the 2nd best team in the Big Ten, certainly could be in that conversation, but have not looked the part so far. What are you watching in this one tonight in College Park, where, as we know, Maryland's really tough to beat?
I agree, Dave. I think for the psyche of these teams, this game, both teams really need this win. For Maryland, Jameer Young ankle is a little banged up, so we'll see how he is. Now, he still played in Indiana after doing that. The key, though, is Dante Scott. This is a capable player. He's a 5th-year guy. He's been around. He's been a double-figure scorer. They need to play through him a lot more. Okay, Julian Reese is going to have his moments. I know this team struggles to shoot the ball, and it's tough to play offense.
That's an understatement.
I mean, it's just, Dave, look, when you can't
really
shoot the ball,
yeah.
I mean, teams are really just going to just lock in the paint, and it's hard to run an offense. But Dante Scott, he's the one guy that I'm going to circle, and I think if I'm Kevin Willard, I need to find a way to get this guy going. He can play outside. He can play inside. He's been a mismatch problem in years past. Penn State isn't the most physical team on the interior, so he's a guy that if I'm coach, if I'm Jameer Young as the point guard, hey, guy, we got to get you going. I want to see you score early and often. I would love to see Maryland do that.
Just to give people a sense, if you haven't really watched Maryland yet, they are under 23% from three-point range.
They got to improve. There's only one way to go, I think. They got to improve.
Well, there are 3 teams that are worse than them nationally, so you could go down. But I mean, I don't think this is a team of uber-talented shooters, but it just feels like it. At some point, it's going to get better than that. Penn State lost by 9 last time out to Bucknell. I don't think any of the other losses are losses that you would look at and say, well, I'm surprised they lost that game. It feels like at times they've played reasonably well, but the Bucknell one is a little bit of a head-scratcher particularly at home. What do they need to do to kind of get things back on track?
Well, I look at their team, and you have transfer Ace Baldwin Jr. followed Coach Rhodes from VCU, A-10 Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and you combine him with Kanye Clary, who was playing fantastic, has really dropped off the last couple games, but they need to find a way for both those guys to coexist because they're their two best players. I'd like to see them, they pressure the ball. I'd like to see them use that quickness because they're not a big team. Use that quickness. You got two guards. You're going up against Maryland, who has maybe a banged-up point guard. You might have a freshman and handling the ball some for the Terrapins. So if I'm Penn State, I want to extend that pressure. And those guys got to find a way to play off each other. It's not uncommon for two small point guards to do so. They got to find a way, and then they could use some shot making as well.
It does feel a little bit with Penn State. Actually, we were talking about Brad Underwood and how his philosophy changed in his time in the Big Ten. Penn State right now reminds me a little bit of those early Underwood teams where they gamble a lot, go for steals, and then if they don't get them, things kind of break down defensively in the back end.
And when I say pressure, it doesn't mean gambling, doesn't even mean trapping, but just let the offense feel some heat for 94 feet for 40 minutes, and you can wear down opponents.
Nebraska and Minnesota is the other game, as we mentioned. Nebraska was the real surprise coming out of the gate. They played Creighton and really got hammered, frankly, by Creighton at home. But aside from that, I think you could look at Nebraska and say there's been obvious progress made here. And I think in moments you could say the same about Minnesota, but man, kind of got blown out early against Ohio State, made a run at it. Dawson Garcia was fabulous, but never really put game pressure on the Buckeyes. This is another one where it feels like, from Minnesota's point of view, got to defend home court, and from Nebraska's point of view, show that start wasn't a fluke.
I won't say must win first week of December, but both these teams, I think, again, once again, for their confidence, for their mindset, this is a big game for these teams. I think both of them are better than last season.
Yes.
Nebraska, they have more balance. Keisei Tominaga, once again, is playing really well. He was the only guy, though, that got anything going against Creighton. He had 20, not one other player in double figures. Shooting the ball great, once again, 50% from the field, almost 40% from the three. Just simply one of the most fun, enjoyable players to watch play. And I think it's because he has so much fun playing. So I love him, but they have more balance on this roster. Rink Mass center is playing well. They'll spread the floor. So can Minnesota contest threes? Can they defend the three-point line? Nebraska takes almost half their shots from three. Haven't shot it great. I expect them to improve just based on their roster. So that's what Minnesota needs to do. Now, Nebraska, can they handle Minnesota on the boards? Minnesota is one of the top rebounding teams in the Big Ten. They have a +8 rebounding margin. They have some big bodies. Dawson Garcia goes for 36 and 11 in their last outing against Ohio State. So Minnesota is a better team. They have more quickness. I think their guard play is better. Some of these young guards, Cam Christie is playing well. Braden Carrington laid an egg last game, but he's a better player. So this Minnesota team is going to be competitive. And here early on, I know both these coaches really, really want this win.
First game of a 5-game homestand for Minnesota. Got to defend home court, something they have not done in conference play. Just 4-16 at home against Big Ten opponents under Ben Johnson. Let's get into some non-conference action. Ohio State has been really good. 6 straight wins here, including the really good win over Bama. I mean, I think that was the one that kind of sent a message to people that, hey, this team is better than a year ago. They get Miami of Ohio, which feels like a game they should win. But what have you seen here so far from Ohio State that might lend credence to that theory that this team has turned the corner a bit?
Well, I've said it for a few weeks. I think it's the best backcourt in the Big Ten. Now, if you put Damask and Shannon as the 1 and 2, maybe that changes. But Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gale Jr., you would expect freshmen to that sophomore leap, and both those guys have done so. Bruce Thornton just completely controls the game, so physical and so poised as a point guard, can make shots for himself, still averaging about 5 assists a game. So he kind of runs the show for them. He's what makes them go. But then you have guys like Roddy Gale that can play above the rim, can do a lot of different things, has a huge upside. I like this roster. I like the makeup of it. You have 2 centers that are very different. Zed Key and Felix Akpara give you something very different. And Key's been that veteran presence, that vocal leader that I know Chris Holtmann loves. So this is a team I believe is only going to improve as the season goes on. And so a game like today, can they get some of their role players, maybe some of these freshmen, can they get some more minutes, get some confidence? Because you know, over the course of a Big Ten season, you're going to need different guys to step up on any given night.
Love the way that they have split that center position. I mean, it is almost to the second. These guys each play equal minutes. And as you say, they're 2 really different players. Akpar, obviously, more of a shot blocking presence. Key has all the great little moves down low, but really they're a different team depending on who's out there. Lots alike, and anytime you can shoot 40% from three, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, they're shooting that ball well.
They were a good three-point shooting team a year ago. They're an elite three-point shooting team this year. What about Rutgers? I think this is a really interesting to Wake Forest. So you get a road game against an ACC team that just beat Florida at home, so kind of showed that they're maybe a little bit improved here under Steve Forbes. Rutgers, this is the first true road game of the season for them. They got Seton Hall later this week. This feels like a time where you're going to be able to gauge just where Rutgers is.
Yeah, Wake Forest has 3 guards scoring over 50 points a game, and they can really go. So they're going to have to defend those guys. I was disappointed, though, against Illinois over the weekend, how they just totally got punked on the glass. I think negative 25 rebounding margin for Rutgers. That's not what you would expect from a Steve Peichel team. You have big Cliff O'Morey down there in the paint. They have to be elite defensively because another team that can struggle to score. They miss a guy like Paul Mulcahy that can set the table for them. So they have to dominate the boards. They need to get out and transition a bit better. Their pressure caused some problems against Illinois there in the first half for a little bit, but it's tough to set it up when you can't score. So if they can get to the basket, play inside out, move that ball around better, maybe you get to the free throw line, then you can set up your pressure. That's critical for them.
Right, they got to figure out ways to get points, and the free throw line is certainly one way to get them. They're still not a great offensive team. I will note this on Rutgers. It is commitment day today for Dylan Harper, the nation's #2 prospect. He has been said all along to be a heavy Rutgers lean. I think if they get Dylan Harper earlier in the day, whatever happens from the Rutgers fans' point of view.
They're feeling good.
Yeah. It might just be gravy.
Year.
They do. No, I know they are. They're really excited about this group. And again, everyone in the country wants Dylan Harper. We'll see whether or not Rutgers gets him. Things up here on Big Ten today. Indiana, the only team that's 2-0 in conference play. Illinois, Ohio State, Northwestern, Wisconsin, all 1-0. Purdue is 1-1 after falling to Northwestern Friday night in Evanston. I do think there's still a consensus that the Boilers are the best team in the conference. Would you agree with that assessment before we begin the exercise of saying who's second? Can you agree?
They're not unbeatable, as we've seen, but
yes,
I would agree. I think most people would that Purdue is the best team in this conference, if not the country.
So then where do we go from there? Who do you think are the candidates? I want to know who you think is the second best team. And so we're not going to let you kind of talk around this. At the end, you're going to have to tell me who.
Okay.
But who are some of the candidates and kind of give me a sense of where you see the strengths and weaknesses of those teams.
There's a next tier, I believe, Dave. And what I like about this is 2 weeks ago, everyone thought, well, there's this huge drop-off at Purdue. Really, maybe nobody that can contend nationally or make a run in the tournament nationally. And now I've seen 4 teams that have separated themselves, and I'm going with Illinois, Ohio State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. Those 4 teams, that's not an order. I give you number 2 later.
To give me an
okay.
Order. Yes.
But let's start with Illinois. Okay, let's start there. Big win last night against Florida Atlantic. This is a top 10 defense in the country. Terrific on that end of the floor. Now, if they can generate some offense, especially in the half court, they're fantastic in full court. But half court offense, if they can be efficient, they can beat anybody. Last night, you have 2 guys go for a 30 ball in Terrence Shannon Jr., Marcus Domask. They were fantastic. You've seen some other guys knock down some shots. Luke Goody, Justin Harmon, Quincy Guerrier can give you some minutes. So experienced team. I think they're in that next group, and they're going to be a problem for anybody just based on their talent and the way they defend night in, night out.
Agree 100%. I mean, I really, really like this team. I'm really high on them. They have so many different options at various positions, and they can give you different looks depending on, who they put in there. I think the depth is better than it was a year ago. Having Luke Goody back is huge. He's a knockdown three-point shooter. You got different guys at the 5, right? Like Danger's so different from Hawkins. I just think it's a really complete team.
And the one thing I think they can give teams a different look is they can invert their offense a little bit. And we saw that last night with Marcus Domask. His work as a guard, most of his work is in the paint.
Yeah.
Ty Rogers, 6'6", 6'7", point guard. So I like to see them play more through the post, but not necessarily through their big guys, but through their guards, and that will be challenging for opponents.
You mentioned Ohio State there.
Yep.
Make the case for them.
Well, I just said Okay, I think they're the best backcourt in the Big Ten. Bruce Thornton, Roddy Gale Jr., sophomores playing at such a good level. Jamison Battle on the wing is knocking down shots for them. So I like the makeup of this team. And we just discussed, Dave, a little bit the twin centers with very contrasting styles of play. Akpara plays above the rim. When they run ball screens, he's diving to the rim, one of the best lob threats. Well, Zed Key's the exact opposite. Right. He's going to pin you underneath the basket, can finish over either shoulder. So this team, I think they're well balanced. They have a slew of young players and new players that I believe are only going to improve. Evan Mahaffey gives them something defensively, can do so many different things. And he hasn't done much, produced much offensively. I think he will give them more, but I love the energy that he plays. So this team, early in the season, they're clicking, but I expect them to only improve, and especially when you're led by a backcourt that's so solid. Roddy Gale's going to have some big nights as well, probably as much of an upside as anyone. I just really like this Buckeyes roster.
You mentioned Northwestern in there. I think a very different team than a year ago. It feels like offense is maybe the stronger suit than the defense.
I would think so, and I throw them in there. I would not have a week ago. Okay, I kind of saw it coming a bit last year when they beat Purdue.
Yeah.
I did not see it last week. But I like them because I'd say the intangibles, the toughness, the ability to make shots, those three guards, Bowie, and we talked about him, how great he played, but Ryan Langberg, Ty Berry, they went for over 70 points, those three guards. So despite getting out rebounded by 25, I believe it was,
yes, yeah.
they found a way to win that game. And when you have that experience and when you have that toughness combined with the shot-making ability, they're never out of a game. If they can get a little bit of production from their interior, I think Matt Nicholson has to be better. He's got to stay on the court. He's a presence. He's a physical guy. If they can get a little bit of better production and rebound the ball, again, they're a team that's going to fight and they can make shots, so they'll be in any game.
All right, we've run low on time. We got about 30 seconds left in the show, so we won't make the case for Wisconsin other than to say –
Wisconsin, I'm going to put them at number 2 right now. I just think they're the most complete team outside of Purdue. I love their depth. I love their multitude of options.
Interesting. I thought you were going Illinois.
I could, but they're both right there. You made me say one. I'm going to say Wisconsin right now.
All right, we will see you for Hoops tonight. Ray Fell and I will be with you for the tip-off show. See you then.